That's what I thought. And it did take me a minute to get back to him, so I'm sure they knew I was thinking about it. But it was like, I was sitting there like, plunge the toilet? Really? Hey, everybody. This is the Williams Brothers Podcast.
I'm Gar.
I'm Steven.
I'm Neil.
I'm Shaler. What's going on with your eye there, Gar? What's going
I
on?
don't know, man. Who knows?
You feeling better?
Oh, I feel much better. I mean, it's still hanging on a little bit, but now Elizabeth has it, so she's in the bed.
Oh, man.
Man.
Yep. She told me last
Passing it
night, she
around.
said, well, my throat's scratchy, and I feel like I'm catching a cold. And I said, well, you'll be in bed tomorrow. Sure enough.
That's no fun.
Nice.
I think it's the flu. I mean,
Yeah.
she doesn't have fever yet, but man, for like 2 days, I had the fever. I had the
For
fever.
more cowbell.
More cowbell.
So, are we ready to get started with a topic?
What are we talking about?
It's Neil's turn for topics.
It was
today.
my turn for topics.
Okay.
So I have to go first. So today we're going to talk about the broad term of leadership, because at some point in our lives, we've either, we've had to be leaders, had to follow somebody, had to watch people who were leaders at home, at work, as a hobby, something like that. So surely in that time, we've learned something about leadership, or at least we've heard somebody say something we can share about leadership. So, so what are some experiences you had or some wisdom that you have learned about leadership that we can share with folks who are not as experienced as we are? I'll just jump in and you can ruminate on that. So one experience I had, and I think we're going to have to start something on the podcast because we always talk about the Navy. So it's going to be like a drink. Every time you hear Navy, you just take a shot.
All right.
Take a shot for country, for the country. There you go. Drink to the foam, as they say. So in the Navy, and Dad is another one. If we say Dad, that should be another one you have to drink for, just because. That's how. There you go.
Boy, we're going to be,
It's going to be a tough
Schnockered by the
podcast.
end of it.
we're going to be 3 sheets to the wind.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, there it is. There's another one.
Ooh.
There it is.
Navy and Dad.
Navy.
That's 2 podcasts ago, I think. 3 Sheets of the Wind.
Yeah.
Explains that one.
2 or 3,
So one leadership experience I remember. I was in the Navy. I was a technician, worked on electronics and stuff. And one afternoon, I was working late, and the Master Chief comes in, who's the most senior technician, smartest of all the technicians and all that good stuff. And he's like checking just some sort of mundane things on the equipment, and it just really piques my curiosity. I'm like, Master Chief, what are you doing? And he just explained that he was trusting and verifying, basically. So there was some maintenance done that week that was not routine, and it was very critical to what things that were going on. And so he said, you don't want to micromanage people. So he would go back after hours and he would just check some indicators to make sure things were done right. Everything was okay. And then nobody had to know they were being checked on. Everybody feels good. And that kind of stuck with me. I think that's Ronald Reagan actually said, trust and verify first, maybe, but it stuck with me because it reminded me that as a leader, you're responsible for work that other people do. That's part of the gig. And so just to, you don't have to ask 1,000 questions or watch somebody do all their work. But if you go back and just sort of check and make sure, does everything look right? Okay, then we're probably okay. So that was one. A second one, I got 3 here I'll share. So a second one was the senior chief I used to work for. And his favorite thing was, whatever the topic is, he would say, well, that's a direct reflection of your leadership. So if you're late to work, that's a direct reflection of if your uniform's dirty, if one of your people is late, if something's not working, basically anything that happens, that's your leadership capabilities on display right there. So that was a good accountability
Yeah.
thing. I was like, wow, there's no getting off the hook. Whatever I do, my hair's too long, that's a direct reflection of my leadership of my barber, I guess. So
And the example you set for everybody else, they're
Right,
like, well, his
right.
hair's too long, so I can.
Yep. He's not a very good leader. So just look at his hair. So
That's a true indicator
and
right
the last one, yes. And the last one, and this one was a little traumatic for me in the moment that I got this feedback and guidance, but I had just become a chief in the Navy. And so, it's a new leadership role and I'm trying to do all the right stuff. And I'm in like a hallway and I'm telling somebody, hey, the division officer wants this to get done, whatever it was we were talking about. And he, the guy goes on his way and the master chief is standing there and he calls me over, says, come here a minute. And I'm like, okay. And I knew him, nice enough guy, but still can be very intimidating. And he didn't look like he was very happy. And he looks at me in the eyes and he kind of points at me and says, don't ever do that again. And I was like, and of course I'm mortified. What have I done? He said, don't ever give away your power like that. He said, when you tell somebody to do something or you give an order, that's coming from you and they're doing it because you said to do it, not because somebody else said to do it. And he patted me on the back and sent me on my way. And I was like, wow, that's heavy,
Yeah.
So that stuck with me too. That was sort of one of those things that if your boss says something needs to get done, and if you just go and pass the mail and you say, oh, the boss wants this done. He said do it. Then it's sort of like you're avoiding responsibility. You're not the one, it's all them. And that's one that really has stuck with me over time.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
That was a great way to say that too. Don't give away your power. Like you're just a messenger,
Right.
message boy running between me and my employees.
Yeah.
That was
That's
big.
good. That's good.
I saw a really good example. I was doing some consulting for a large company, and they had a corporate headquarters. This is a $2.5 billion worldwide brand company. And it really struck me that they had a lunchroom down, like a really nice, I call it a lunchroom, cafeteria in the building. So you didn't have to leave the building. If you were working, you could just go down, get something to eat, and tables and the whole, it was the whole deal. It was really big and very nice. The CEO would regularly come down, get a tray like everybody else, get something to eat, and sit down with whoever was down there, right? He wasn't sequestered to the sitting with the chiefs or the senior VPs or anything like that. And he knew everybody, and he made it a point to know everybody, right? Very low ego, kind of a man of the people. But he was in charge. He was accountable to shareholders for this multi-billion-dollar company. And he was just as natural. There was no arrogance or, aren't you happy to be sitting with me at lunch kind of a thing. He's joking around with people that are clerks and managers and just anybody, right? That to me, I thought that's really excellent leadership. That's somebody you can follow that's not so far away from the people that, when you hear him on a call with Wall Street or see him in the news or see him on CNBC or something, you go, oh yeah, that's Fred, or whatever his name happens to be. And, oh, yeah, I know him. I talked to him at lunch the other day. Great guy. Let me tell you what he talked about, what we're doing. It's unusual, but I always looked at that and I thought, yeah, that's the way to do it right there. As opposed to, I used to work for another consulting company, and our CEO was actually at this event with all these CEOs. One of the people at the event was Bob Iger. You couldn't come within 30 feet of Bob Iger because he had all of his people around him.
Yeah.
And our CEO went up and said, hey, I'd like to, say hello to Bob. Oh no, he's far too busy. Right.
Yeah. He's Bob Iger.
He's Bob Iger. Yeah. You can't, it's like holy ground, right? You need to take your shoes off before you approach him. So, that was a real contrast for me about here. You got this guy that's a man of the people versus this guy that is, sheltered, sequestered.
Yeah.
And too important. My time is too important to spend with the little people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually had an experience with I think it was the CEO or president of Walt Disney World Resorts. I was at a remote their 100 Years of Magic remote or whatever. And he was walking around to the different booths. And when he came up to our booth, he had his BlackBerry in his hand. At the time, BlackBerries were pretty new. And he was like, "Can you believe this? Look at this. I'm emailing Tokyo right now. Can you believe that? I'm on my phone and I'm emailing Tokyo. This is just amazing." And so I'm talking to him and he just talked. He kept going and going and going and talking. And I thought, this is so cool. I'm getting to talk to the CEO or president, whatever he was, of Walt Disney World Resorts. I mean, that's pretty big. Yeah. And then he went off to the next place eventually. And I said something to the other Walt Disney employee that was there. I was like, that was really cool that, the president of Walt Disney World Resorts actually sat here and talked to me for that amount of time. And he goes, "Yeah, man, nobody ever wants to get caught by him because he will not stop." I was like, well, that's kind of good. I mean, that's good. But he was just a real affable, nice guy that, it was a pleasure to talk to him.
Yeah.
But I was just surprised he had that much time for me while he was, texting Tokyo. So it was kind of cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
So, and I think I know who you're talking about. And part of his reputation is he never missed one of his kids' ball games. So
I'll bet he did.
He's in that role, right, where he's so important. The demands are so high. And he may be on his BlackBerry in the bleachers, but he's at his kid's game and he's watching the game.
And you didn't get a pressure feeling from him. He didn't seem like he was under the gun or, under pressure, where I've had other bosses that, like Neil was saying, it's a good idea to verify. It's not a good idea to ride somebody, you know what I mean? To like stand over their shoulder and, "Are you sure you want to do it that way?" I don't think that's the way you want to do it. And because I had one company I worked for, big company, and they had bought this radio station for $20 million and put it in my hands, I thought. And so that it was supposed to be my job. But then I ended up with this entire hierarchy from the CEO of the entire company to the senior vice president, the director of programming for the company, the general manager of the cluster I was in, the operations manager, the consultant. Everyone was like, I was talking to every one of them every day separately and emailing separately. And I found out that the CEO actually had a radio wired into his office in Philadelphia where he could hear my station and listen to it to see what was going on with his new $20 million station. It was just and so, I was at a big programming conference there with that group. We were in Austin at some resort, and I got on the elevator at the same time he was getting on the elevator, the CEO, and we knew each other. And he said, "Hey, how are those ratings looking?" So the ratings had just come out that day, and we're at a offsite, and I knew what the ratings were, but I didn't expect, to have to deal with that at the offsite. He gets on, he's just been working out, so you can tell his mind never left work. And so he gets in the elevator and is like, "How those numbers look?" I said, "Well, they're up, but just a little bit, not much. At least they're not flat." He goes, "Not good." And he gets off the elevator, and I was like, what a turd. But
that's encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. It was like he was just like, he never was a like laid back, friendly guy to talk to. It was just always business. And just, I don't know. Maybe he's grown since then, but back then he was not. He was just all business and no person.
Yeah.
I
had we're going to tell another Navy story here. We're going to grab a drink here. All right, here we go. So I had a commanding officer when I had just made chief, and part of the job as a chief is to kind of be an advisor to officers, right? Train the enlisted and be an advisor to officers. And my role became the senior enlisted leader of my department, like right away. So I'm a brand new chief, brand new kind of in this new leadership role. And automatically I am the most senior enlisted person So I am talking directly to the skipper, to the CO, and giving him advice and kind of working almost directly with him. So I'm very, green in this job. And he would call me in his office and he'd say, Chief Williams, I want you to, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I would say, well, sir, here's what I think, blah, blah, blah. And he would say, here's why you're wrong.
Great.
And talk about that hurt.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
That's
like a daily beating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly it. And it was rough. And that taught me right away. First of all, I really did not like being in that position. Right. So immediately I'm like, okay, I don't want this job at all. This job stinks
Right.
because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to be wrong every day. And I was, and that was fine. I, accepted it. But that was a lesson on what not to do.
Yeah.
Big time, Do not tell people they're wrong.
Yeah.
In a leadership position, because that's just it's insulting to them. It's like, okay, now you're treating me like almost like a child or something. It's really an awkward situation. And then immediately after that, we got a new skipper. A year later or so, and this skipper, I was in the same position, acting as his advisor and all that, and he was great. He was, what do you think? And I'd tell him what I thought, and he'd say, great, run with it. Do it. That's a great idea. Let's do it. And it was hands off.
Yeah.
It was not micromanaging. And so it was really a good experience for me to go through these two radically different commanding officers so I could kind of see what works and what doesn't work, what's good and what's bad. So I think there's a trick to leadership.
It's funny you said that because the next job I had after that was the one where I was a program director, morning guy, and promotions. So I was pretty much left alone because the general manager, all he wanted me to do was stay. He didn't want me to leave. And so anytime I would get offered a job, which happened a couple of times, he would increase the money or whatever he had to do just to keep me there. And so it was a completely different scenario where I was able to do whatever I came up with. I was able to do it. It was great. Nobody was second guessing. It was I just did it. And I knew that I was in a position where if the consultant didn't agree with what I wanted to do, it didn't matter. I could still do it. I wasn't like the bottom of the rung on this massive stack of people, So it was that, and being empowered to do what you feel like is the right thing to do, free to make your own mistakes too also, but at least you have the opportunity to grow then, because if you're always just doing what you're told by 8 different people or whatever, or one different person, you can never find out whether what you were planning on doing would have worked or not. So
right. Yep.
And that's cool because it shows that leader was not only confident in you, but confident in themselves, because if your leader is worried about their tail end all the time and, oh no, what's going to happen? And am I going to get yelled at? All that stuff, then that comes right downhill pretty quickly. Then
Yeah.
But,
that's the other thing I think as a leader, if you get stress from above, it's important not to pass that stress on down below if there is an above and below. But like the people who work for you, if you pass all the stress you get down to them, again, it's like Neil passing along. They said to do this. It's sort of like you're just basically it's not good. They need to be able to work, even if you have to work with pressure. They need to be able to work without pressure to do a good job, and that's a real tough place to be for a leader if you're getting a lot of pressure from above. And you can't pass it on to below. You just have to let everybody feel safe and do what they need to do. But there has to be that level of safety in order to be able to, do your best work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had a pretty good piece of advice with one particular leader. Again, another Navy story. Sorry, I'm going to be.
That's okay.
Yep.
So the last place I was stationed at overseas, when I first got there, I was taken over for another, chief or whatever. And he told me when the lieutenant, who is our direct superior in this department, said when he gets spun up, the best thing to do is grab a cup of coffee and walk up to him and talk to him while you're holding a cup of coffee, because he'll know that you're much more relaxed than he is at that moment, and he'll calm down. And I'm like, okay, cool. And so he'd come in spun up about, oh, we got to get this done. So I'd grab my coffee cup and I'd walk over. All right, sir, what's going on? And I'd take a sip of coffee and just be very relaxed. And it always like calmed him down a little bit. And so I don't know if it works with everybody, but it's, you could try it. Maybe it would work,
Yeah, it's interesting thinking about that. I worked with a leader once, and they did a little interview with her when she started with the company. And one of the things she talked about, and she was pretty senior, was about, she said, if you come in or if somebody comes into my office and they're excited and they're upset and they're being animated and loud, she said, I will not match your energy level. I'll go the other way. So the louder they get, the quieter I'm going to get. And if they're really loud, I might be, are you okay? Do you feel all right? Are you?
Right.
And I thought that was pretty ingenious and of course it depends maybe on where you are, as well, because another strategy, and this is a strategy you kind of teach people sometimes, is if you're trying to influence somebody who's high energy, you need to be high energy too, because that's what works for them. So I guess it's situationally dependent, but that is pretty funny that if they said, hey, if the person's all excited, just be, low key and they'll come along, and
Right. Yeah.
Sort of her resistance to the whole, you walk in excited, get the other person excited. She's like, nope, not going to play that game. I'm going to go the other way.
Right. I'm going to intentionally go the other way. Just get quieter and slower. And
You just have to be careful that they don't think that you don't care at that point. Right, because they're all excited about this. You're trying to bring them down, and they're like, well, you don't even care about this. You don't even agree with me. And I'm
you
like,
don't want
no,
to put out
no,
their
no,
fire. That's true.
And I guess it depends on if they are excited or if they're panicked.
yes,
Yeah.
There's that
context
fine line.
matters.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah. I think, too, it's important to remember that in any leadership role, the leader, whether they want to or not, defines the culture of the rest of the organization. So if they're super high energy and super micromanaging, and everybody in the organization is going to look to them to understand what's important to them, and that's how they're going to act all the way down the line. If they're hands off, low key, empowering, you're going to see that throughout the entire organization all the way down. And leaders just can't help it. It's their personality that's going to come across no matter how they try to be whatever they've read like they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Their personality is going to come through, right? And it will translate to the rest of the company. When I was an intern, while I was in college, but interning at this bank, one of my jobs, which we talked about in a prior podcast, is going around to these 20 some odd branches, these bank branches during the summer, and inventory all the equipment. And it was really interesting because as I would go into those branches, every branch had its own personality. And I could meet whoever it was, the customer service representative or a teller or whoever, and just by their demeanor, I could tell what the personality of the branch manager was going to be like. Some branches were tons of fun, everybody laughing, having a good time, smiling, and that's what the branch manager was like, right? Some of them were hyper buttoned down and serious, and we're a bank, and that's exactly what the branch manager was like, right? And it just really struck me that I know who the branch manager is just by talking to 2 or 3 people in the branch, and when I would meet him, verified every time.
Yeah, one radio station I went to visit in Savannah, actually, about 2 years ago. I went there and I just dropped in. They were a brand new customer, and they were moving offices from one area of the same complex to another area, and the general manager was painting the new space. So he was wearing his jeans and a shirt, and he had paint on him, and he was in there painting the entire space, the whole office area. and it looked like he'd been doing it for a week or so. He was just every day that was his thing. He was coming in to do that, and he was like, "I want my people to have a nice place, to work. We can't afford to get all this done, by anybody else. So I'm going to get in here. I'm going to do it, and whoever else wants to help me can, but I'm going to get it done." And I thought, wow, man, I bet these guys will follow this guy anywhere. I'll do anything this guy wants.
Right.
Because if he cares that much about where they work and what the atmosphere is like and how nice the studios are, I mean, wow, it just said a lot. And you could tell by his attitude, he was one of those, you can tell leaders that have a winning attitude and the ones that sort of don't, that are sort of playing, I don't want to lose. I'm not really worried about winning.
Right.
And,
Right.
So he definitely was one of those guys that's just like, just winner all the way through. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing when people are aligned to the success of the business in that way. Like when the alignment is right, so what they're doing, feeds the brand reputation, feeds everything. That it just works. I've been in other places where it's almost a fear thing. People are afraid to make a decision. They're afraid what's going to happen, what are they going to think? Can I spend this money? And people spend so much of that energy of their day trying to manage their personal job and their internal stuff within their office that the customers, there's no energy left to really go above and beyond. So it's amazing when you can create that culture when people are, feel like they got latitude and they can do what they want to do that's right for the company. But,
I remember one case where somebody called in and said we had these tickets we were giving away, and for some reason it didn't count this one person that won. I guess two people entered a winner at the same time on two different screens or something. Anyway, they had one more pair of tickets they had to give away that they didn't have. And I was like, well, what's the concert? Where is it? And I basically went online, bought the tickets for them, and left them at will call for them to pick up on my company credit card. And when I told the boss, she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. I wish everybody would do that."
Yeah.
So, and now it would not, I don't think it would be that way. Now it would be much more, well, I don't know, we can't do that type of thing. That's going to cut into our revenue. And I don't know, maybe it would, but,
Right.
but it was encouraged. I mean, it was like, yes, that's what we're talking about. So having that whole attitude of everybody's empowered and the focus is on the output, not the input, it was sort of a lot more fun, really, to work in that atmosphere.
That's a little bit like Herb Kelleher's philosophy when he started Southwest Airlines, is instead of focusing on the customers, he focused on the employees. And he said, if we as leaders take care of our employees, I mean, really take care of our employees and make them first and focus on them and how are they doing personally and professionally, they will take care of our customers. We don't have to worry about our customers. And it worked. I mean, he was pretty unorthodox in his style, but if you hear him speak, brilliant guy, huge vocabulary. I think he was an attorney. In addition to starting Southwest Airlines, but that was his philosophy, was I'm going to take care of my people. My people will take care of the customers. And it was the same kind of stories like yours, Stephen, of okay, well, this flight isn't going to make it. And so there's a customer service representative that books 3 buses to get these people from here to there because they're not going to make it on an airplane tonight. And Southwest picked it up.
The other thing I've noticed is there's some leaders that can give criticism, but yet it's not taken. You don't take offense at it. You know what I mean? Like I had my first program director when I was 16 years old. When he listened to the first time I'd ever been on his radio station, first time I'd ever been on a radio station where I was playing like real music and talking over the songs and stuff, he stopped it. Like 3 breaks in, stop the air check, because they sit down with you, in case everybody doesn't know, they play the tape, or now they play the MP3s, and they tell you, what you could have done better on each break. It's called air checking. And they sit down and critique you on every single on-air break you had about what you could have done better, what might have been better.
Every word you say.
Yeah, every word,
you say.
everything you do. So, and I've had all kinds of people, and I have no problem with critique. I actually love it. If I don't have critique, I feel like I'm a fish out of water. I just can't get any input. It's not good. So he said to me, I'm 16 years old. He stopped the tape and he goes, "What are you doing to my radio station?"
Wow.
Oh
But
yeah.
he was funny because he was looking at me over his glasses and he kind of had a little smile. He was just being silly, but I thought it was awesome. And then another guy, consultant, when I was doing mornings, and I was also a program director, so I just didn't have time to do anything. It was 12-hour days, and then we're in a car headed to. He said, "Do you guys want to go get something to eat?" And I was like, "No, I've got to go. I got to show prep." Because I just got off work being the program director at 6 o'clock or whatever, and I got to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I got to show prep tonight, so I know what I'm doing tomorrow. And he turned around and looked at me. I was in the back seat, and he turned around and said, "You show prep that show?"
Nice. Really good.
But it stuck
Thanks,
with me.
buddy.
It was funny. I
Man.
thought the way he did it was not like that was you're terrible. It was just like, you show prep that show.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
Which is what many people say that about our podcast as well.
Right.
No, we don't. We
show
don't.
prep?
As you
Which
can
we
tell.
don't.
No, we
There is
don't.
very little.
Actually. Mm-mm.
We come
Yeah.
up with a topic, and then we basically get here on Thursday night, and we
Yeah.
get things going, and we're like, okay, what was the topic again?
That's right. That's right.
If you include the 3 minutes before we actually start taping as show prep, then yeah, we do show prep.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's
We
right.
do
3 minutes
that.
of
Google.
prep.
We can Google.
Yes, right.
We can chat GPT.
Right. That's the whole podcast.
Right.
ChatGPT. And when it can learn to talk, then we're kind of done.
We're out of a job.
So if you think about, your leadership style sort of, and maybe how you started out as opposed to how you are today, maybe the way you deal with people, how has that changed for you guys as you've aged? Maybe how you thought leadership was when you jumped in, your first time leading anything versus a more senior adult. Any thoughts?
I feel like I was like Michael Scott in my first leadership roles, like just trying to be everybody's buddy, and best I could. That doesn't work. You can't do that. There's no good end to that.
I think that's the trap when you're younger is you want people to like you.
Yeah.
And when you're a leader, you don't want people to dislike you, right?
Right.
But you have a responsibility to get some things done. And sometimes those are hard conversations. Sometimes they're hard questions that have to come with those decisions. And so I think early on, didn't know what I was doing, wanted people to like me, and didn't push them like I should have. As a result, wasn't as responsible with things as I should have been, right? Today, I like people, but having them like me is not the most important thing, right? But and then the other piece too that I think is important is there's trade-offs, and sometimes you have to choose relationship over the right answer, right? There may be a decision that needs to be made, and this is the right decision, and someone else has a slightly different option. You know what? Let's go with your idea, because my relationship with you is much more important than whether or not I'm right or you're right, and it'll get done. So I think there's a little bit of an art to it of I'm going to choose the relationship over the right answer in this case. It's not going to be a devastating thing, and it's all about relationships. Everything we do in work is just about relationships. It's not about being the smartest guy in the room. It's about building relationships and working with other people, and so that's one thing that I've learned very late in life is, let people be right. Let people try things. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room.
I think it's important to realize that there isn't always going to be one answer to anything. There's always going to be multiple ways to do things, and it may not always, the way one person does it may not be the way you do it, or may not be the may not be the most economical or the quickest way to do something, but give them that chance to do it, because why not? I mean, it's not, depending on what the problem is, it's not going to change the world if it takes an extra 30 minutes or an extra day or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And they learn in the opportunity, that way. Or maybe I learn. Maybe it's like, wow, that worked out much better than the way I was going to do it.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, just focusing more on the relationship and less on the micromanaging and the leadership, I guess what people would call the leadership part. Focus on the relationship, because I think relationship's a big part of leadership.
So I've kind of found that too, just that, given the choice between being holed up in an office and doing spreadsheet work or doing stuff like that, your time is much better spent as a leader, talking with your people, understanding what they're doing, and, given a certain amount of time, most of your time should be on those kinds of things, because it is relationship. And so many times I'll know this is how we should do it because I've done this before and I've seen this movie and this is how it'll work. And then you start unpacking the issue or talking to somebody and you learn things. Imagine that. I don't know everything. And there are better ways of doing it. And there are people far more capable than me that it's like, well, the way you want to do it, I couldn't do it that way because I don't have that skill. But guess what? You do have that skill. So let's make this whole thing shorter from now until eternity because because you're good. So just, it's respecting other people's talents and listening and all those things. Cause I think when you're, especially early on, you want to be successful and you want to, maybe make your mark and show that you can do things. And then you find out really it's a team sport much more than an individual one.
Right.
Yeah. And the worst thing is, to me, early on when I had to let somebody go, having to sit down with them and, say, I know you moved here for this job or whatever, but we have to let you go, was the worst feeling in the world. And it makes you really double down on when you hire somebody, making sure you have the right person, and also on making sure the person, when they get there, is onboarded properly, understands the job properly, because you can't help but feel like that's your error. When you let somebody go, maybe you shouldn't have hired them. Maybe they didn't have the skill, or maybe you should have, helped them out along the way better. Something must have caused it that you could have probably avoided.
Right.
So to me, that's the one thing as a leader. I think you've got to be strong enough to give the feedback, and it's not, it's not personal feedback. It's professional. It's, hey, you're just not getting it, and this isn't going to work. And it's not fun, but it's a lot more fun than surprising somebody, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And documenting it along the way, right?
Sure.
Which, from an HR perspective, I've continued to learn is extremely important, because then it's not a surprise. Like you said, we've had this discussion. I documented the discussion. We had another discussion. We documented that. They're starting to get the idea in their head that, maybe I'm not working out too well here, right?
Yeah.
And
you say documented, that's usually all they have to hear.
Yeah, they may self-select.
That word should stick
find
out.
something else to
Yes.
do. Yeah.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
I had that conversation with an employee once, and left my office and came back. And I don't know what happened, but later when I had to find the documentation, she had gone into my file cabinet and stolen her file.
Nice.
Wow.
This was back when it was paper. So it was gone completely. Her file was completely gone, thinking that was going to make a difference, I guess. But it was like, what?
Yeah.
This is, I've never, and what do you do then? You stole my file.
She got you. You said, let me look in your file. Oh, you don't have a
You don't have a
Just
file.
starting over. Welcome to the company.
I wonder where that file could have gone when I left the room and you were still in the room.
That blew my mind because, I don't know. I'm pretty, I think the world is a really nice place and nobody's out to do anything sneaky, but
That's a lot of nerve.
wow,
man.
that was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was wild.
That is nuts.
So I've got the I've got the top 6 qualities of a great leader
Let's
that
hear
I
it.
looked up. It's a poster from somewhere.
It's one of those posters. It's got a cat that says "Hang in there" kind of
This
thing.
is our
right?
prep. Our prep consists of reading
Actually,
posters.
it has unicorns all up and down.
Oh, it's got to be good
Nice.
then.
So you got
Hey,
that.
that's
So
good. Corporate office material for sure.
absolutely, it's like all pastel colors, a little rainbow in the background. It's
Very
perfect.
nice.
So 6 qualities of a great leader. Number 1, vision, being able to turn big ideas into executable plans. Number 2, humility, self-awareness, understanding and managing your emotions. Integrity, goes without saying. Commitment, so being committed to getting to the destination and appreciating the journey along the way. And then finally, and knowing how to face adversity with confidence, not looking, panicky all the time.
Freaking out.
Yep. And then helping others. So being generous and giving gratitude to people who do a good job and making a positive change in people's lives.
There you go.
Good advice.
For that one, the unicorn's holding a little heart
Oh,
between their hooves.
That one goes a
would
long
hope so.
way. I mean, our CEO will get on an all hands call, and that's one of the first things he will talk about is he says, thank you to everyone for your hard work. We're doing great work. So much appreciate everything that everyone's doing. He just always leads with gratitude, which just means a lot. It's like, he could jump right into it and here's what we're doing and here's what we need. And nope, we're going to take a minute and just be thankful.
that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
it is good. Yep.
The guys in my office, it's not every afternoon, definitely every Friday, and I'm sure they do it a couple of times during the week. As soon as work ends at 5:00, they pull out their they call them whoopty drones. They're the little tiny drones that have like an FPV camera, right?
Yeah.
And they put on their goggles, and they have these pool noodles, like for the pools, those big noodle things. They tape them to the top of the cubicle so they're like little gates, and they'll spend like an hour flying these little whoopty drones all over our office and having
that's
competitions
cool.
and stuff. So it's really, really neat. I haven't joined in yet because I haven't got a whoopty drone, but in any case, that was some of the things they do to kind of break up the monotony and have a little fun in the office. So
We used to have rubber band fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We would all have drawers full of rubber bands and just pew, pew, shoot them at each other. It was more fun. It was the best.
Yeah, we have Nerf guns too. We occasionally will take a little Nerf dart gun thing, they're little tiny ones, and you shoot those across the office, just wake somebody up or something.
Just to get some banter going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Pretty much.
they're quietly sitting at their desk with their headphones on, and you shoot them, and kind of get some excitement.
I would think flying drones around your office though would be work. I mean, you wouldn't have to wait till 5:00 for that. I mean, I
Right,
would think
you'd
that'd
think
be
so.
legit.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that I have run across out there I thought were pretty shrewd leadership tricks that people have. So Chick-fil-A, I guess they do this. I know they did it at the ranch at the Rock Ranch, which used to be true at Kathy's cattle ranch. That also had like a family fun area, like it was like a rural farm version of Disney World, where you could go play in the corn hopper full of dried corn and get corn in your pants and everything, and then you could do all kinds of fun stuff. Ride the little steam train, do pedal cars. It was all like low tech stuff,
Right.
Stuff they would do on the farm. No electronics. Anyway, my first day there, I was the director of fun, which meant I was kind of the HR director for the 50 or 60 part-time ranch hands that took care of the people who came out with their families. And so I would spend my day going from place to place, all the different things, the corn maze, everything else, making sure people had water because it was hot, making sure if they needed a break, they could get their break, that somebody else was there to help them. I had to schedule out all the, who was working where and when they got their break and all this stuff. And so along the way, I guess it was somewhere during the day, first day I was there, we all had radios, and somebody came on the radio and said, hey, one of the toilets is backed up. We need somebody to go plunge that out. Williams, can you take care of that? And I sat there for just a minute, like, really? You're asking me to do that? And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm on my way. And because it was like, of course I'm going to go do it. I'm not going to not go do it. Somebody just said I should go do it.
Right.
And then I found out later that is a ploy to see if you think you're so important or whatever that you can't go plunge the toilet like everybody else. So if the toilet needs plunging, it needs plunging. And so somebody needs to go do it, and it might as well be you. So that was kind of what they were looking at, was whether or not I was like not going to do that. That was beneath me.
Interesting. So they go and stop up the toilet.
I don't even know if the toilet was stopped up. I never got that far. They're like, never mind, I got it.
Oh, okay, good. No, but that's great. That's really great leadership. And to, people should be willing to do everything. But I think testing, it's kind of a cool way to do it. To say, well, what's he going to do? Is he going to balk? Is he going to ask questions? Or is he just going to go do it?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And it did take me a minute to get back to him. So I'm sure they knew I was thinking about it. But it was like, I was sitting there like, plunge the toilet. Really?
Radio's breaking up. I can't hear you.
But I feel, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me
Very
tell you, the
cool.
people that work with the cattle are not the people you want working with the kids and the families. Just, they're different people. Very, very different. Every now and then you'd have to come in contact with them for something like electricity or some sort of thing like that. Like maybe, one of the bouncy houses is deflating because there's no electricity out there. You'd have to call one of the real ranch hands to come out. And man, they're different. They're not, have you ever seen Yellowstone?
Yep.
And that guy, the head of the ranch hands, I can't remember his name.
Rip.
Rip. Yeah. They're all like that. They're very blunt. They say what they're thinking, and usually exactly the way they're thinking it.
No filter.
Right. And they're not happy that you're on their cattle ranch,
Right.
making it into
Right.
a little
With
kitty
jumpy
farm.
jumps.
As the director of fun.
Right.
Yeah, with a title like that, I would think you could throw the title around, just say, hey.
Hi, I'm Steven. I'm the director of
I'm the
fun.
director of fun.
We need your help.
A unicorn.
We need your help to keep the fun going all day long.
Hey, that's not very family friendly of you. Put a smile on your face.
Thanks for that hand gesture. You're number one, too.
Oh, yeah.
The Williams Brothers Podcast is made possible by a grant from the Saunce Group. Do something good every chance you get. And by the Williams Foundation. The theme song is 5-Card Shuffle by Kevin MacLeod.
It was fun. It was a fun place. I actually saw a bull take a rearview mirror off of somebody's car. They parked in the wrong place, I guess, and there was a bull like in the same little corral area where they parked. And he walked up and was like scratching himself on the side of their car, just rocking the car back and forth. And then he moved his horns, and just knocked. I mean, it was like effortless. Just knocked the rearview mirror completely off of the car. Just nothing at all. I was like, good Lord.
Man, nice.
Yeah, it was a very different place to work. We had somebody call in and wanted to know if they could bring their dog with them. And I saw my boss, the kind of the director of the place, on the phone with him. He's like, well, no, ma'am, you can't bring your dog here. And they're like, well, why not? And he said, well, because we don't want your memories to include your beloved family pet being mauled by a farm dog or a bobcat.